Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Insightful Accountant webinar, The Evolving Practice, Running an Accounting Firm in the New Normal, presented by Nicole Flutie, sponsored by AbacusNext. Insightful Accountant is an online news and information source written for small business advisors interested in the latest news and offerings in accounting technology. My name is Emily Hedrick, and I will be your webinar host. If you have any questions during the session, please enter them in the Q&A box, and we'll try to address them. Everyone that has registered will receive a follow-up email with the handout and recording later today. Today's speaker is Nicole Flutie. Nicole's been with Office Tools for over a decade. She directed and managed rollouts for new features and quarterly public updates that were delivered to thousands of users. During this time, she helped develop the practice management solution and bolstered her understanding of the needs of accounting firms. These strengths, combined with her natural leadership skills, made her the ideal candidate for the Office Tools product manager role. Over the last year, Nicole has been working directly with a core group of software engineers and quality assurance individuals to propel the award-winning product into the future. She's also been traveling the country to meet with accounting professionals to better understand and design practical solutions for common issues. In her time off, you can find Nicole exploring California's national parks with her family and enjoying a glass of Chardonnay. Thank you, Nicole, for being here with us today. And when you're ready, you can get started.
So let's get started. So what are we going to cover today? We really want to talk about a tax season review. What does the new normal look like? Some data and statistics that I've pulled up in regards to the accounting profession. How can cloud technology help us with the common issues that we see in the new normal? And pushing that forward, what kind of technology like a practice management application can assist you in moving your firm from the new normal into a very successful firm during COVID. And then I love to give you an example of our products that really inherit the practice management life cycle again, that life cycle that can help you improve your processes and your practice and move you to the firm of the future. So first off, what's really important during this time is that as a firm, we take everyone that's part of our business and we do a retrospective. What is a retrospective and why is it important? A retrospective gives us the ability to gather everyone who's on our team, sit down and talk about what went well and what didn't during pivotal moments in the year. And that typically will revolve around a tax deadline, right? Or even accounting deadline, right? A big audit or anything like that. So it's really important that we gather everybody around and we identify these pain points, because if we don't identify those pain points, it's pretty apparent that we'll relive that pain point again, right? Or we, just kind of push it to the side and, we'll deal with it later, or we'll say there's a workaround for that. And if you're saying there's a workaround, that's the pain point you really want to focus on. And it's important that you review and analyze that pain point to kind of get the idea of what can we do to solve this? Is there technology out there? Is there a product we're already using, but not using in the best way that we should be using it to, inherit that value? So you want to review and analyze, discuss and listen, but you also want to collaborate and communicate, open that door, make, the team feel comfortable in expressing their ideas so that we can get the best from everyone and the best solution, right? Because sometimes it's, not a one size fits all, and that our work is dependent upon the next person doing the work. So we want to make sure that this problem and solution that we have, we've got all the key players part of this so that we have a true solution, not another Band-Aid. And where I see most firms who are very successful in the top 3 points I just mentioned, where we kind of fall off the wagon is documenting and implementing change. This is where, we've identified the problem, sometimes even put a workaround around it, and then we kind of document it, but we don't own it. And so I really encourage you to own those things, assign a person in your office whose really sole goal before tax season is to solve these problems and provide, a variety of solutions. So it's really important we do a retrospective. We've got the, up and coming tax season. It's really great to, again, get our arms wrapped around those problems, and technology is really a place where we can start. However, if we don't do this now, we can apply some science to it with the forgetting curve, where we are going to forget these things. And this is why these problems continue to peak their head up, and we find that we're dealing with this again. There's the same frustration in the office. Same people are, probably at each other's throats again because we didn't really solve it. We forgot about it. So bring those pain points in. Although it may be a difficult conversation, it will be productive. Own it, and let's fix it. So let's talk about maybe some of those pain points we've experienced this year. Working from home is definitely one of those, right? That really impacted all of us throughout the year in different ways based upon our readiness, right? So I thought it was really interesting to get some statistics to find out, what did firm owners think and feel about the working from home and productivity, and what do those who were subjected to working from home feel about their productivity? And they're very stark differences, very distinct differences. Firm owners think that they were less productive with their staff working from home, but staff felt like they were more productive working from home. So why is there this distinct difference? And I think it really boils down to the fact that we're taking our productivity approach and metrics and applying that now, and thinking that those metrics are still the best way to measure productivity with our staff. And I think we have to, take that back to the drawing board and really get everybody to understand, what are those metrics? What would everyone like to be measured by? What does success mean in our firm? And how do we measure that now when we've got sort of a disjointed approach to our work collaboration, right? Because we've got people who are in the office and people out of the office. And how does that work? So maybe in the new normal, the measurement of being there from 8 to 5 or online from 8 to 5 isn't the result that we're looking for, or a metric we're looking for. Maybe we're looking for a results-oriented environment, a metric-driven environment. Staff leaderboard would be the best way to maybe describe taking on a new approach to how we want to measure staff, because there is this distinct difference. And with that being said, we don't see the future of work, the working from home situation changing. If anything, I think COVID just propelled this forward faster and maybe before we were ready for it. But this was always kind of looming in the distance. And so now that it's here and it's not going away, again, we have to kind of regain that perspective of what is the best approach to measuring our staff and measuring our productivity versus the normal, are you online 8 to 5? We used to walk by your desk and see you on Reddit, or, doing things you shouldn't be doing. And that's how we kind of gauged, right? Is walking by everyone in our office and kind of understanding, yeah, I know that person takes longer lunch breaks than they typically do. They're always 10 minutes late when they come in the office. And we were kind of gauging productivity in that way. We have to change if we're going to move on with this future of working from home to retain our staff and to keep them happy and to keep our business happy, right? That's the goal, is to make sure everybody understands what our goal is as a business moving forward in this dynamic. So we've got our first polling question. Emily, I'll go ahead and let you pop that up for everyone to see. So the question is, how will your firm's work from home policy be impacted post-COVID, right? So are we going to keep moving on with allowing people working from home, or we really want that, environment back at the office?
Okay, I'll give you guys a few more seconds, and then we'll go ahead and close it and share the results.
Not sure. And I think that's the top one. I think that's where everyone's feeling. So let's maybe see if we can bring that back to, the drawing table of, what can we do with that? So the new normal. So in the new normal, we see that there's really things that have changed around three areas, right? Team communication, the work, and client communication. So how can we improve in team communication? How is your team going to collaborate and align on projects? This is where you want to kind of pick up on the technology. And then also, when it comes to team communication, how are you going to align your staff together, right? So, how are we not only communicating, collaborating, and aligning on projects, but how are we going to do inter-office communication, and what does that look like? And when it comes to the work, if you weren't paperless before, I think this transition was probably hard. So, what technology can help us with work? Not maybe just being paperless, but also feeding back into team collaboration, right? And when it comes to client communication, that's changed drastically, right? In our profession, we're really used to the high touch client service model by having clients in our office, in our homes, doing parties and lunches. And since those things are, kind of a touch and go right now, how are you going to maintain your close relationship? Let's think about this not in the sense of a permanent sort of thing, but that this isn't going away, this new normal, right? So, what are some of the things that we can do to bring them on board as a regular occurrence with our client, whether that's Zoom meetings or even coffee breaks virtually? What are some of those things that we can do to help deliver work from a consulting standpoint, but just make sure we're not worrying about the compliance work and we're still being the trusted valued advisor because we're still doing that FaceTime with our clients. So let's dig into this a little bit more. When it comes to team communication, there's two areas I kind of glossed over a little bit: work and culture, right? So it's really important that work is transparent and that there's accountability. And I think practice management applications can really help with this because they're the unbiased, application. It's you have the work, did you do the work, is it completed, right? And so it's really important that that's transparent, that we allow everybody to see, each other's work to a certain extent to help with that accountability, especially when we're virtual and we don't know really what's going on because we're not in the office every day. That can really help with that. And then how do we maintain culture? How do we find a way to keep our members together, feeling like they're still part of a community, because community seems to be broken a lot right now, and not being able to see each other as much. How do we replace office lunches and outings and those sorts of things? And you have to kind of be creative. And that really starts from the top down, where, maybe some meetings that we have aren't just about work. Maybe there's one meeting a week where it's just, a virtual happy hour and we have a theme for the day, which is, whatever it might be. We had a fun situation recently during this meeting. We all realized we hadn't seen this very similar movie or same movie, and we all watched it over the weekend and then had a very lively conversation that following week. So again, kind of help breed that virtually by making members feel like not everything has to be about work. Work is important, but we also want to make sure the team stays together in a very collective way. So when it comes to the work, and we're going to touch on this and go over each one of these steps later on in the presentation, but when it comes to the work, like I said, practice management is really the technology you want to use to help with transparency and to help people feel like they know what's expected of them, they know what needs to be done, and they get it done. So then they can also communicate that to the client, right? So we're doing a bunch of different things with practice management to help when you're virtual to feel like you aren't disconnected, but rather connected together. When it comes to client communication, this is really important. This has changed so much for all of us. And, I had a really interesting conversation with a client recently, and they came to the approach that with all their client communication, they used email for that, and they used Teams just for inter-office communication. If you felt like you had to send an email, maybe try doing that as a file in Teams. So they really had this a unique way of handling that situation so that it could be very clear and very consistent in their approach and their responsiveness, right? If an email came in, it's top priority, it's probably from a client and it's probably urgent. And that kind of helps create that streamline effect of how we answer our customers and how we, uh, you know, offer our communication to our clients and that sort of thing. So again, great way to kind of delineate. It's not something that everybody has to do, but an example of how client communication's, important, and how do we funnel that now that we have more technology tools before and less with the inter-office communication that we relied on previously. And to also touch on this, so that email, client meetings, we can do virtually, and delivering work. A portal is really important this time. If you don't have one, I really highly recommend that this is a tool that you can use to enable, again, client communication with your client on work and the delivery of work, and that's really important. So there's a statistic a couple years ago that I think less than 40% of firms, small firms, right, small business firms, had a portal. And that's really fascinating to me. So I hope that that's not true now, but that should be part of your technology delivery and client communications. So we've got our next polling question. So Emily, I'll let you go ahead and drive that.
All right, we'll give you guys a couple more seconds to answer. How was your firm's response to the pandemic? Very good. We went remote almost immediately. Mostly remote. We did the best we could. Or slow, still not completely remote. All right. And I will share these results for you.
Perfect. That's great. See, it tells you that technology can help. It can help definitely in a situation where you have to react very quickly. Which will lead us into our next conversation, which is Cloud Advantage. So for those of you where the technology may not have been in place to enable you to move so quickly or react so quickly to this environment, this COVID environment, I think it's important that we take a moment to talk about the Cloud Advantage, why it's important. It's not just another sales pitch. It has real value for tax and accounting firms. So first and foremost, security. Security is very easy to deploy in a cloud environment, right? We're talking about multi-factor authentication, firewalls, encryption, compliancy. And when you work with a cloud provider versus buying a cloud hosting, platform, when you work with, again, a provider, they can deploy that for you, right? And they can maintain and update it. And that's a real advantage for tax and accounting firms who are targeted during this time of COVID because of your biggest asset, your client's information, right? Next is data backups. This is great. So in a cloud environment, that's just part of the routine. It's just part of that delivery for tax and accounting firms. When you're on, for example, Abacus Private Cloud, that is just part of what you get. It's part of the nature of the cloud. It's part of us providing cloud services, right? Whereas before, if you are running locally, this is a pain. And this is a pain, especially when something has happened and we need a backup and we go to find out it wasn't running, right? And so then you are putting your IT hat back on and you're trying to get to a restore point. We've all been there. But with the Cloud Advantage, you don't run into that situation. Those are maintained for you. There's restore points. So again, this really becomes a value add for CPAs, because you can take off that IT hat and give it to the cloud provider, right? Allowing you to do more of the business advisory services and not so much business management, right? And then controls. This is really interesting. We've seen this take on kind of a life of its own, especially in the COVID environment, where firms are really hiring remote now for the first time. So with that being said, you can't gain that trust if somebody's coming into your office and building that relationship bridge. You have to trust now, right? And so we at Abacus Next really define this as a zero trust model, and that we only give you roles and rights of things that that person has to have to do their work. It's a lot of breaches happen and people get in when they have too much access to things that really aren't part of their job, right? So the zero trust model is really important. You can control that remote access permission. And again, it gives you the ability to feel like your business is safe because those who have the security and rights that they need to do their work, right? Versus a carte blanche, everybody kind of has access to everything. Next, we have updates. So this is really important. This is again helping accounting firms take off that IT hat and updating their products and maintaining and managing those, or even offloading them to an IT who comes in once a month, right? You're still having to manage that function. In the cloud, we really do the best that we can in making sure it's fully managed and monitored by us if that's what you want us to do. So again, another value add with the cloud. Lastly is mobility. And I think this is really important. I think those of you who were able to go remote very quickly, you were able to run on, any device and, any application. And that's really important. And I think we want to push that narrative even further, right? Let's say it wasn't a COVID environment. I think small business owners feel that when they walk out the door, the building is going to burn down, right? And it's very hard for business owners to disconnect. I'm a daughter of a business owner, I know this, and to feel like they can relax, replenish, and renew themselves away from the office. And the cloud gives you the advantage to feel like any fire that may arise while you're gone, you can handle it quickly, efficiently with all the, the tools and products that you need that you know and love at your fingertips, right? So consider that you can, be part of that. And also when you're at a client's office, you have the ability to tap into your to your programs to document things. So again, mobility is quite reaching when you think about it when it comes to being part of a cloud infrastructure. So let's talk about the different clouds that are available. And I want to define what abacusnext is, and then we're going to dig into the delineations of private cloud and public cloud and other clouds that are available in the tax and accounting arena, and what's maybe the best one for you, because there's a lot out there, but not everybody knows our business model, right? So with the abacusnext approach, really, we're going to move from left to right here. It's about working from anywhere, from any time, and then you dial into one of our 9 data centers, and this is where you have to have internet access, but you hit one of the 9 data centers that is optimized for your area and whatnot. And then you move into the, not user, but firewall protections, MFA, those sorts of things to protect and put that gate. And then when you get past that, you're in your virtual desktop. This is, desktop as a service is really what we're also offering here, where everything that you're normally used to working with, we have a server or a platform for it. We've got your application server, we've got your document services, we've got your backup servers. It's a whole virtual environment for you, but it feels very much like your own desktop when you launch into your private cloud. And along with the abacusnext advantage, we have a whole team of technicians who are managing the environment 24/7. We also have proactive monitoring, which is really beneficial. We know that there are threats out there, and we want to be proactive in building infrastructure that is supportive of that, and also that is also reactive, right? When something happens, how to react to that. And we can help you put those procedures in place, and we be part of those procedures based upon what you would like, the private cloud to do for you. So let's talk about the cloud options, because I think there's a lot out there, and I want to drive home a few points that I think are really important. When you're part of a public cloud environment, you're part of, the best analogy is you're like running out a hotel room, right? So you've got your own room, but you are subjected to what's going on around you, right? Noisy neighbors, that sort of thing. Well, in this case, specifically, you can be subjected to resource issues, latency, right? So, and for us as a business, we are highly transactional, and that only increases during very important points of the year, usually around a tax deadline or near the end of the month when we're trying to complete monthly work. So with that being said, if you go with a cloud provider that's a public cloud, that's usually less expensive than a private cloud, which is the lure, you can again run into a lot of degradation at pivotal moments of your work, which can be very frustrating. So you have to really pay attention and work with a provider that understands your needs and your resource allocations that have to happen, right? And then when you dig into the private cloud, this is like your own island. You get your own security guard, you get, your own gates around your property, you know who's coming in, you know who's coming out, and nothing that is happening to you is because you're sharing resources or a platform with another individual or another business, right? So to drive that point, even further, if that public cloud isn't optimized in a certain way, where if somebody, clicks on an email and a phishing attempt, and all of a sudden you've got ransomware that's being installed, that could permeate throughout that server and into that multi-tenant environment. So that can be a problem. So it's something you want to educate yourself on. For the most part, that's not an issue, but it can be if you're not dealing with somebody who's really advocating to tax and accounting firms in this space. So then let's move over to, the cloud options like Rackspace, Amazon, and the Azure cloud. And really what this is it's an a la carte situation where you can purchase what you want, right? Say, I need, these sorts of servers, I need these sort of resources, and you can buy those things. However, you still are going to be an IT. You still have to choose the right platform. You still have to choose the user roles. You have to define those, or you have to find someone that you can trust that will manage and monitor your cloud environment and be, forward thinking on those user rights and roles, forward thinking on the security that you need. And again, you're still having to be part of all of those conversations. You're still having to wear that IT hat and talk about backups, where with most public and private cloud situations, you can choose everything that you want, or it's already included, right? And that's part of the conversation. So know that those are great platforms. They're wonderful. However, you are still going to be part of the IT solution here, and that's going to pull you away from your business. How does desktop as a service and software as a service fit into this? Private cloud, really depending upon who you go with, but with abacusnext, we are trying to emulate a consistent user experience, and that's why we call it desktop as a service. We want everybody to feel like they're in the same environment, and that it's not dissimilar to what they're using now. And if you are using SaaS applications, that doesn't mean you don't have the need for a cloud platform for the rest of everything that you do in your business. This can be true with tax software. Our tax compliancy applications are mainly desktop applications. And with that being said, if you're using one of those, you still have a need for a cloud platform that will put you in a mobile environment, right? But you can still use your SaaS practice management or your SaaS online products, that we find in the tax and accounting arena. So it shouldn't sway you from that. And you shouldn't feel like you have to be a complete SaaS shop. You can have both, right? And that's the point. So when we talk about desktop as a service and migrating to the cloud, there's a lot of questions that come up. What are the advantages and disadvantages? And I just want to put a few out there for you quickly. The advantages are really user consistency, security and permissions, remote access, and what we like to call, device location and software agnostic, really giving you that full sort of environment that doesn't feel much different from what you're using now, or maybe it is because it's faster, because you're using antiquated technology. Some of the disadvantages that you can have is if you don't have a consistent internet connection, that can be an issue. It can require time to migrate, but that's going to be with any provider that you choose. And there can be time to learn some cybersecurity training, right? And with that, you got to take time for everyone to be part of that initiative. However, we do find that when we train an office and a firm on cybersecurity, that it actually turns into being, an asset very quickly, because it's going to prevent your staff from entertaining the idea of clicking on an email that they probably shouldn't have, or a link that they probably shouldn't have, right? So you're going to get that back right away. So the time to invest in it, but it's only going to keep your office more secure, right? So typically we see, click-throughs on phishing email attempts are between there's 26 to 99% of people will click on those attempts, right? And when we implement training, we see that 64% of the people stop doing that, right? So a huge improvement rate there. By simply doing some training, we see it drop over 50% of these individuals clicking on things that they shouldn't have because they're curious, not realizing the security risk they're putting your firm in. So I don't want to, drag this on further, and I don't want this to be a scare tactic, but COVID-19 has really, shown us how vulnerable tax and accounting firms are. We've seen that they are truly the ones being targeted, right? And we see the scams come out of our IRS just released their dirty dozen on the phishing attempts and ransomware, and ransomware is definitely part of that list, right? And the fact is that small and medium-sized accounting firms are deliberate targets for data theft. And it's because you guys host the most sensitive data, right? And it can act as a gateway to larger data. So in smaller firms, I've worked with you guys for many years, don't have the resources that a larger firm would have in terms of being sophisticated in defense infrastructure like a large firm. So that's why it's really important that you partner with a vendor who can really provide that security platform for you without you having to wear that IT hat, right? That's the goal here. So again, these are just some data and statistics that we've seen. Huge spikes with COVID. We see that hackers and scams really, really piggyback on events like COVID, right? And just take advantage of people. So it's really important that we take this seriously. So we've talked quite a bit about the advantages for your business, for you as a business owner, but what are the advantages for the team? And we see that the team feels, although it can be debatable, and we saw that earlier, that business owners don't feel that the team is as productive, but let's still entertain that idea that our staff still feel that they're more productive at home, right? We see facts like, remote employees take 43% or take 3 weeks or less of vacation time. What could feed into that? And I know for me personally, it's that I don't feel like I need to take so much time off of work because I'm at home and I can pick up with my kids and we can go and do the things that we need to do. I'm not sitting in traffic, which is taken away from, my family time. And I think that there's a story for everyone in whatever situation you may have, whether it's more time that they can invest in their hobbies or at the gym, that they feel that they're getting the break that they're needed to be refreshed and renewed, to not have to take so much vacation time. So I think it's really important that when we talk about the cloud, that we should really also focus, the benefits on our team, and that our team can get, by working from home or working on complex projects from home that they really need to focus in on. And so we've got really great business advantages and we've got great advantages for the team. So this is just a quick sort of checklist for you if you are considering the cloud, or if you kind of have, let me go back. I don't know why that changed so quickly. So we've got this checklist to kind of help you define whether you're ready or not for the cloud. I think everybody's kind of getting there, right? It's part of that conversation we're having on a consistent basis, and probably more so since COVID has come around. So if you need some help with that, here's some questions to kind of set that foundation up for you to ask. Are we ready? Is it now? Or when are we going to be ready, right? That's probably the question. So let's move into our next polling question. So Emily, I'll let you go ahead and take it from here.
Okay, now you should see on your screen, is your firm running in the cloud? Yes or no? Give you guys a few more seconds. Everybody answered that one really quickly. Okay. And your results, Nicole.
Awesome. All right, so let's move into our next topic, the practice management life cycle. So this life cycle is really a framework made up of 12 steps that we found encompassed all the work at a tax and accounting firm, all the different elements that we saw and that we've seen over the years, and kind of categorize them into these steps again. And it's a life cycle because, you know, there's not a true beginning or end. And there can be, but there really isn't. You're constantly going through this life cycle, right? And so with that being said, we took this approach of identifying all those elements in a tax and accounting office and built a life cycle to help us build product that would support these elements. That's really what practice management is about, is bringing all of these pieces together in one application serving the entire firm. And practice management should be the hub of any tax and accounting office. So let's talk about the first step here, the client intake. This could be for a brand new client or an existing client who's bringing more business to us. They, bought a business, whatever it might be. So client intake is really interesting because it should be defined for the team and clear for the client. Sometimes when it comes to client intake, we really only think about just getting some general information, not everything that we need, not everything that our our accounting software would need, our practice management software would need, our tax software would need. And it's really important that we create a really great experience for them to gather all that information. So it's not a back and forth like, can we also have this? Or do you happen to have that? It's a delivery of this is what we need, and this is what we need to support all of our systems internally, right? And it should be efficient. And I think we sometimes overlook that. So if this isn't something that you've got your arms wrapped around, it's a great talking point to figure out what is it that we need? How do we define this? And how do we make this a really clean experience for our client? So when it comes to scheduling, it should be part of your practice management application. I'm not a big fan of the Outlook tool. It's a great calendar tool, but it should be part or at least integrated with your practice management, right? Because there's always the question is, when's the client coming in, right? And it should be part of the application. So you're not bouncing around back and forth between products trying to figure out this information. We should have their information by their client intake. We should have access to our scheduling, which is centralized and integrated so that we can answer those questions, right? And if we want to push this further into, the client experience, is this something that is online where they can see their up and coming appointments or request an online appointment? So consider this is something that we could push to the client experience or enhancing the client experience. When it comes to document intake, this is really important. We had the paperless movement come through the tax and accounting profession years ago, but it should be part of practice management, shouldn't be a segregated piece. So if your documentation is being natively stored in Windows File Explorer and you are maintaining that yourself, that doesn't count. It's not document management. It should be part of your application because it's really about, what documents do they have, the supporting documents to do the work, right? So that's really important, is it's got to be integrated and it's got to be easy and accessible. Practice management should also offer staffing. It should offer the ability for you to gain metrics on how much work do we have, how much work is in the pipeline, what is in progress, and what have we done, right? That's really important. That's what we want to know. Do we have the right systems in place to take on this workload? Do we have the right team members? Do we have, do we need to hire seasonal help? It's going to help you answer all those really important questions when it comes to resourcing and budgeting and creating that pipeline that you're looking for. So when it comes to workflow, you got to have team buy-in, and we've got to be able to define it, apply it, review, and repeat it. Everything in tax and accounting is on a cadence, right? So it's really important that we have this cadence built out and that it is offering the solution to our problem. It's offering the way for us to connect with our work and to meet our the expectations of the client. But we can only do that if we have buy-in from the team. If we don't have buy-in from the team, they're not going to use it, right? And then we're not going to experience everything that product can offer to us. And now we're kind of back to limping along. So it's really important that we sit down with everybody and we define how tracking of tax and accounting work should work in our office and what's the most efficient and effective method of doing that. Technology is going to help you with it, but it's only as good as everyone's input and everyone's understanding of the end goal and how everything should work. And so again, I just encourage you that there's a lot of workflow applications out there that just do workflow, but it still needs to be part of your practice management. It still needs to be related to your documents. It still is going to be part of your scheduling. It's still kind of part of workflow, and it should bleed into your client intake, right? Next, we have reminders. Say no to pop-ups, and email is not a reminder. Email is first come, first serve, right? So how do you create a priority list for yourself of work that's got to be done? It should be more automated. You should have your own list and reminders for things. Like I said, email is not the way to do it. And that should be reminders based upon the work, right? So it should be part of your workflow. It should be part of, scheduling and reminders for your up and coming appointments. This is where we see a big delineation in practice management in the tax and accounting field, where time is done outside of practice management, or it's not part of the work that you're doing. And I've found that this is really, an essential part of practice management. You should be tracking your time and the product that you're doing the work in, right? Those two things should be connected. And when that happens, you realize that it's, if it's easy to do, it's part of the product you're already in, more people are going to use it. It's just a fact, meaning we now can capture every billable moment, which is what we're after, right? We want to capture all of our billable moments and be able to bill those out so then we can get, our utilization, our realization, and profitability. Okay. And billing. So we see that these two pieces are typically broken out into separate, products, and it should all be in one, right? So the work that's coming in, the time that we've committed to it, the time that we're tracking against it, so that we know what we're going to deliver to our client. And billing should have all of the things that you're looking for. It should be flexible. It should be complete, and it should be something that allows your customer to pay very quickly, right? So to push that narrative even further, you want to have the ability to track the time, bill the time, and then receive payment all in your application, right? So that's part of the practice management lifecycle. By having billing in there, is completing that billing workflow right after we've done our work. And then portal delivery, especially during COVID, is more than just a document transfer. It's a client experience, right? It can be used for, marketing. It can be used for billing communication, communication in general, right? So we've seen it more than just document transfer. They can also see appointments, share information with you. So again, this is a really pivotal thing for our tax and accounting firms to have. It should be part of your practice management. It should be integrated, right? If we're doing all the work in this product, we're tracking our time and our documents and our appointments, those should be very relatively easy to share in the portal, right? So you can now kind of see when everything's connected together, you're going to have massive benefit and value because everything's relatable. And then we can do report analysis, right? Because we've got our workflow in there, so we can have KPIs on there. We've got billing, so we've got utilization reporting. And then we also have the ability to peek in on our clients on how often they're seeing us with scheduling reports and those sorts of things. So again, you're going to get more data outputs because you have more data points to track. And it should allow you to help grow your business, where there's a little element of, CRM that's available to you with, engagement letters and that sort of thing, newsletters, ability to kind of segregate clients and target them for certain things that you're offering, services and deals that you're running, that sort of thing. So again, if you have that part of practice management, it can help you grow your practice. And last but not least, it should be flexible enough to allow you to track everyone in your practice management. They don't have to be a client. They can be a contact. They can be a prospect. Again, creating the hub of your office and pulling all of these data points together, regardless if they're a client or not. So the benefits of the practice management life cycle is enhancing the client experience, which helps create a competitive differentiation between you and the next guy. and also supports retention initiatives. It helps keep your clients because you've got the technology that's easy. They can hop on the portal, see their documents, they can pay their invoices from their phone, right? So all of these things that help kind of breed that technology experience should not only keep the whole team together and feel like there's accountability, but it should also enhance your client's experience. So we've got one more polling question. So Emily, I'll go ahead and let you take over from here.
Okay. You should see on your screen, does your current practice management application meet the 12 steps of the practice management lifecycle? Give you guys about 10 more seconds to answer. All right, thank you.
Interesting, very interesting results. So I love to show you our latest application, Office Tools Cloud, which is, we've got two products in the marketplace. We have Office Tools Workspace, which is our legacy and enterprise practice management application that's been serving tax and accounting firms for over a decade. And we've taken what we know and love about that application and built our newest SaaS application, which was released last year, I believe in December of 2019. So it's very new to the market. But again, we've built it upon these practice management lifecycle concepts and steps because we know that if we can bring more into one application, the value for you is there to keep your team on track and to meet those client demands. So again, I'd love to give you a demonstration of that product today. So give me just a moment while I share my screen with you. All right, so Emily, can you confirm that you can see the, oh, hold on, just kidding.
We saw it for a second and it went back. Yeah, I can see,
yeah, that's very strange. There we go. Okay, should stay now.
There you go.
So this is Office Tools Cloud. When you enter into the application, you're met with a dashboard of items that are associated to you. So these are your phone calls that you need to make, up and coming projects, appointments that are happening, emails that have come in, time that I've tracked, information on a portal. So again, this is kind of my workspace and allows me to see at a glance the important things that are happening. As I dive deeper into the application, I have the ability to open up any client that I have here and take a look at what we're doing for them. So I can see who's associated to this entity, their information, how to contact them. I can see details of, again, address information. I have a chronology, a list of everything that we've done for them, every item tracked, every item completed, every time card recorded. I can see all of the projects that we have for them, all the work and services that we're offering. Are we on time? Are we on budget with that information? I can see our emails back and forth. I can take a look at up and coming appointments, tasks, look at our phone calls, documents that we have for them, take a look at their WIP, all the time that we've tracked, and then time that we've billed, along with accepting payment information. I can track a note for this customer. I can also build out custom fields and track information that's important to me as a firm. And then I can see what we've done with them on the portal, right? More than just a document delivery. I can set a task for them. They can see their up and coming appointments. They can view their invoice and they can pay it. So that's a snapshot into what, the product can do for a client. As I navigate across the menu bar here, these are items that are related to me and things that I can dig deeper into. I can take a look at my calendar. I can take a look at my tasks and my emails. And these three elements here are built on top of the Microsoft Exchange Office 365. It's a live link. So we are sharing that database. So everything I see here is completely up to date with my Outlook calendar. with my emails that are in my inbox, and I can respond to one just as I would in my inbox. So we brought all the tools that we know and love with, Microsoft Outlook and email into Office Tools Cloud. So again, I'm not bouncing back and forth between applications, maybe losing my train of thought or not creating a cohesive work environment, right? I can review all my phone calls that I need to make and projects for the entire company. What has come in the door? What are we working on? I have filtering options and abilities here to drill down into the data that I want to see. And if I really want to take a look at a project, I can open it. I can take a look at our deadlines, who's working on this project, what have we done, what have we not done for them, what are the notes that we've tracked, documents associated to this project, and are we on time? Do we have any bottlenecks? What is our commitment to this project? As I dig deeper into documents, I have the ability here to see everything that's related to a client. And we can leverage from machine learning. Anything I drag into Office Tools Cloud is scanned, and then we have the ability to read what's going on in that document and create tags that are related to that are in relation to the document. They can tell me if it's a tax return, if it's an accounting document, right? And I also have the ability to see versions of this document. So I've got tags that are happening. I can see all the versioning that's happening with this document, go back to the prior version if I needed to. So really creating a lot of document tools that we know and love in the accounting space. We also can email, download, create a time card, or show this document on the portal. Review time and expenses. See what my AR balances are for the customers that I'm working on. And what's also unique is anywhere throughout this application, anything that I open, I can dock here to the bottom, allow me to create my own prioritization, right? The things that I feel have drawn my attention that I have questions on. And again, I can drag them all along the bottom here, creating my own sort of activity list. We've got great tools that allow you to track time to items that have been completed without time. You can change time cards and mask. We've got a collection assistant. We also have reporting that gives you real-time metrics on what's happening with your product and with your clients. Lastly, we also have an integration with QuickBooks Online. So then you can take all of your AR data and push it over to QuickBooks, completing sort of that billing workflow lifecycle where we've documented all that data in the product and been able to push it to our general ledger. So I'd love to open up the floor for any questions that you guys may have. And if there isn't any questions that you have, you're more than welcome to try our product at officetools.com, or you can receive a personalized demonstration by calling the number at the bottom. So let's take a look at and see if we've got any questions that I could answer for you. Does it work with QB Desktop? Not currently, but it will. So that is definitely on our roadmap to get that going. I hope that answers your question.
Well, Nicole, thank you so much for your presentation today. And everyone, thank you for joining us. If you do have any last minute questions, please go ahead and put them in the Q&A box. We have a few minutes. Otherwise, I will get this webinar recording and the handout to everybody that has registered. I'll do that by the end of the day today. And I think we're good. Nicole, any last thoughts or anything you'd like to say?
No, not at all. Thank you for your time, everyone. I hope you have a great day, and I hope that we see you soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much again, Nicole, and thank you everyone for being here. We hope to see you at the next Insightful Accountant webinar. Everyone have a great day.